Now to a TMJ4 exclusive. We've seen several big decisions from the Wisconsin Supreme Court during the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight, in a rare interview, Justice Rebecca Bradley talks with our Charles Benson about the court's role.
Justices don't talk about their court decisions. They let their written opinions do the talking. But during a social distancing interview at Justice Bradley's home, we had a candid conversation about the Supreme Court. You've seen the headlines. The Wisconsin Supreme Court making key decisions, striking down efforts to postpone the April election and overturning Safer at Home. It's been a busy term. So what's it like to be a Supreme Court justice these days?
Our work is a little bit different than it usually is, which I think is the case for a lot of America right now.
Justice Rebecca Bradley agreed with the majority in both challenges by the Republican-controlled legislature. High-profile cases in hyper-partisan times. Do people think that they can actually lobby the court?
Well, I think every justice could confirm that we've been recently flooded with phone calls over the last couple of months.
More so than normal?
More so than normal.
But unlike lawmakers, Justice Bradley says courts are not policymakers open to persuasion by public opinion. After the 4-3 Safer at Home decision, Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett, a Democrat, claimed the court acts like a, quote, jukebox for the Republican leadership. The Supreme Court is often seen as a 5-2 split, with Bradley viewed as one of 5 conservative justices. Are those the fault lines? Is that a misperception?
It is a misperception, and if you look at the data, it just doesn't support the idea that the court is a political actor.
Wisconsin voters elect their Supreme Court justices to 10-year terms. While the nonpartisan races are very political, Bradley says it's more about judicial philosophy.
If you read an opinion that is talking about the Constitution, the statutes, case precedents, that opinion is grounded in the law, and those are the kinds of opinions that I certainly write.
The opinion she wrote for the Safer at Home decision was called out for being insensitive and offensive in a Japanese American Museum op-ed piece. Bradley referenced the Korematsu case, the internment of Japanese Americans in concentration camps during World War II, a dark stain on American history.
Our ethics rules do prevent me from talking about the decisions that we've rendered. So I can't talk about that, but how I do talk about it is in the opinions that I write.
Bradley wrote, citing them, is not to draw comparisons between the circumstances of people horrifically interned by their government during a war and those of people subjected to isolation orders during a pandemic. She added, we mention cases like Korematsu in order to test the limits of government authority, to remind the state that urging courts to approve the exercise of extraordinary power during times of emergency may lead to extraordinary abuses of its citizens. But do you worry about the public's trust in the courts?
I do worry about it because it's very important for the public to have faith in the judicial branch for being the independent arbiters of legal disputes.
While the pandemic has forced the courts to adjust with Zoom oral arguments, Bradley says one thing has not changed.
When we put that black robe on, that is to symbolize that we're setting aside our personal opinions, our political inclinations, our own personal philosophies, and replacing that with a judicial mindset, with a judicial philosophy.
Justice Bradley says in 30 civil and criminal cases this term, 12 opinions were unanimous, and 9 cases were a 4-3 split, and just 4 had one dissent. Stephen Shannon,